Welcome to the Integration Station. I'm Naturally Ashley, your host, here to guide you down the rabbit hole into the world of psychoactive plants, frogs, and fungi. Good morning, you beautiful souls, and welcome back to the Integration Station. I'm your host, Naturally Ashley, here on Pace Radio Network. So I've got a few really interesting and amazing guests here today. I know they're all amazing, but the first here I have been working with in group setting month after month for just over a year now. Her name is Eva Payne. She's founded a non-profit summer camp for kids impacted by HIV. She's the author of 2 books on flow. She hosts 2 podcasts on human development and expansion. Recently, however, she's been running retreats, mushroom retreats in the heroic doses. She's also a mother of 6 children and hosts a master's in leadership. So you're going to want to stay tuned because she's going to walk you through how she does retreats and what you can expect on a retreat. Next up, we have James. So after the break, you'll come back, you'll listen to this guy. Again, amazing. He's the founder of the Grateful Shaman Company. He's a shamanic healer, also a speaker and integration coach like myself. He's the host of Healing Stories podcasts and also hosts many retreats, much like Eva he'll be sharing his way of doing retreats. He also hosts weekly integration circles and sound baths. So if you're in his local area or you want to get in touch for online, these are resources that'll be available to you through our friend James here. He's also a big advocate for supporting the grassroots movement and individual healers. So I know many of you been here listening to Pace year after year. You've watched this with cannabis, the grassroots movement. And so this in the mushroom world is really important to us too. So you'll hear a bit about that from James today too. So without further ado, we'll just send you right to them, make the introduction. Thank you.
You're listening to the Pace Radio Network, here at paceradio.net.
The views expressed by the individuals during this broadcast are their own opinions, and they may not be the same as those of their group or other organizations they may be involved with.
Hello, welcome you beautiful souls. I'm here with Eva. We were just talking and like never even hit record. So we're going to pick up where we left off. I just want to share first how much of a privilege it's been to connect with her for like probably a year or so now that we've known each other. And yeah, it's always a good time. She's just keeps expanding her business, and I really wanted to, I guess, use her as a vessel of inspiration for the rest of you that are just starting to launch and do these things, because what she's doing is amazing. Retreat, she runs a business like with 6 kids. 2 of them are, more independent now, but still 4 at home. I've got 1. So, I know how hard it is, and I know that there's a lot you can share here. So Eva, please give yourself a little intro, and I've got some fun questions to ask along the way to keep everything flowing.
Thank you so much for having me and asking me to do this. And I hope that there's one sentence in here that someone out there needs and is like, okay, that's it. That's my aha. That's the inspiration that I need. My name is Eva Payne, and I love when people say now, what do you do? Because I just do so many things. I'm an entrepreneur at heart. And so I really have to look at the person and what do you want me to say? Because I'm a mom. I have 6 kids. I have a 22-year-old, an 18-year-old who's graduating on Thursday, 16 and 14 and twin 10-year-olds. So 1 girl, 5 boys. So I have that going on, which I want to say, Ashley, there's really very little difference between 1 to 6. It's just, if you're already making food, you just make more. If you're already picking kids up from school, you just might have to make 2 more stops, So it's already like a break in your flow of the day of whatever you're doing. So just finding the balance and making sure that there's time for your kiddos and really being present with them when you are with them. like not letting my mind think about, oh my gosh, that email I have to send or this thing I have to do. Like I really try to just set up, I shouldn't even say I really have a schedule, but I kind of have a schedule. But when I'm with them, I just really try to be with them. And I think that's the key. And really my biggest takeaway of parenting for anyone out there is let your children be who they need to be. I really feel like our kids come to us whole and with their own unique personalities. I can tell you, having so many, that they are so different, every single one of them. And you just love them. And it's almost like you get to investigate who they are. It's not about me projecting onto them what I want them to be. It's like, who are you in there? Oh, I see you're an artist. Okay, what can I provide? What opportunities can I put in front of you that might help cultivate that within you? So they're all so different, and I just love each of them where they're at. And I don't really care about grades. I don't know. That's just me. I just say, did you do your best? And they say, yep. And I go, okay, because I don't really measure their success based on, did you get all A's? I just think like, are you a good human? Are you contributing to the world in some way? Are you contributing to the home? Are you being kind to one another? And I feel like at the end of the day, whoever they will be, however they're doing this will show up in the world, like they'll figure it out. I think aren't we all trying to still figure that out for ourselves? Oh yeah. Right. So it's like, it doesn't matter. Like, just have fun, enjoy being young while you're young. That's my parenting piece. If there's any questions you have around that, but so I do that. And then when I was 21, many moons ago, I started a summer camp for kids impacted by HIV and AIDS, and I ran that for 20 years up until COVID and all of that, and hopefully getting back to that this summer, which is like a smaller session. But I have a lot of experience in running retreats and summer camps and whatnot for them, which is translated into now running women's retreats. And within this time frame, in 2015, I got divorced, and I really kept saying to my therapist, I've lost my flow. Because when I started the nonprofit, I knew nothing about starting a nonprofit. It was just my intuition felt really pulled to do this thing, and I just kept listening to it, and everything just started working out. The synchronicities just started happening, and I just kept going down that road, and it led to beautiful experiences for thousands of kids. But when you go through a hard thing or a hard challenge in your life, like a divorce for me, it really threw me off. And I thought, how do I find that flow again and that energy, and can we recreate that? And so I spent 5 years researching around flow. I've written 2 books around how to create a life in flow, whether it's the doing part of it or the being part of it. And then as I was coaching these women and like, does this work? Or my philosophy's crazy? I just saw that change was so hard and so slow. And I thought about my own change and being in therapy and going through something challenging. And that's when psychedelics just kept coming back into my world. I kept seeing it, researching it, hearing about it, just like the summer camp for HIV and AIDS. Like, I didn't know anyone impacted by it, but it just kept coming up. The signs were in front of me. And that's what was happening, particularly with psilocybin. And as I started to say okay to that and being in that space, I met people, opportunities, and it's led me to running these retreats for women. And we utilize psilocybin at the retreats. And you were always there to do the integration day. So thank you so much for being a part of that. It's so awesome.
I love you and all those girls. It's been a lot of fun.
And it's just so transformational. When I pull into my sister's driveway in Oregon and I unload the yoga mats and, all the stuff that I bring, I just cry because there's so much gratitude in seeing the transformation happen so quickly. I mean, it's just like night and day from getting on a discovery call with these women and just hearing the stuckness, where they're at, and then taking them through an experience that stacks various healing modalities, including psilocybin in there. Literally overnight, I see a change in them. Whether some of them it's dramatic, some of them it's like a light switch just went on, and for others, they go back home and they're less reactive. They're more thoughtful about their process, and especially if they continue through like a microdosing practice or something after, they see that like long sustaining change in their lives, and it's just so rewarding. It feels so good to do work that I'm in love with, really, and then I just feel like it's an honor to be able to do, and I just kind of keep wanting to make it better. like, how can I make it a little better? How can I streamline this process? And yeah, that's life, right? So this is the phase I'm in right now, and I'm loving it. And who knows what tomorrow will bring? I'm very much open to life and collaborations and people and stuff. But for today, I've got a retreat in a week. Here I go again, and it's just so exciting. So yeah, there's me babbling.
Yeah. Oh, isn't it fun babble? And I'm happy that you bring all this to light, like the amount of transformations that can happen in an overnight. I'm curious, what are some of the other tools and modalities? Like, what are some of your other go-tos other than psilocybin at your retreats?
Yeah, so I think about, the way that I started out, for most of the retreats, they come in on a Thursday. And so on that Thursday night, we do a psoas release exercise. There's a lot of trauma that we store in like that pelvic region of our bodies. So, and these are all different healing things that I did when I was going through. I went to my therapist. I'm like, can you just give me a checklist of like self-care things? She was like, there isn't one. And I said, well, I'm building one because there's gotta be, right? So I just started experimenting with all this stuff, and I went to this class. So psoas release is one of the things that we incorporate in that first night. We do a letting go ceremony where we write down something that they want to let go of, if not forever, at least for the weekend. And so they get to share that. And then we have this little wish paper that they write it on, and it goes up and burns away. So we do that. We get to know each other. There's like an opening exercises that we do. We also talk about identity and ego. And so a lot of people don't even know anything about that, right? Like that we hold on to these identities, and then going through a journey, a lot of times you lose that sense of self. And so preparing them for that. The following morning is when we go do a cold bath or a cold something. We jump into the ocean. We kind of Wim Hof, we do like the breath work, and we do this kind of stuff. And then they go into the water, and I tell the women, I say 1 minute is all you need to do. The therapeutic model is 3 to 5, but if you can just do 1 minute, so we go into the ocean or the river or whatever and have that experience. And it's just this very bonding moment for them. We also do a sound bath. So before the ceremony, I have this gal, she just started doing these sound baths, and I had her come in, and man, she is passionate about it. And when you have someone really everyone who shows up at the retreat, and whether it's on Zoom or in person, they're really passionate about what they do, and that really resonates. And so she comes in and she's playing bowls and beating a drum and plays around your head. And like a lot of these women have never done anything like that. So they'll have like visions and stuff that will come to them in this sound bath. And then the gentleman that we source the mushrooms from, he comes and he talks about heart resonance, and he does a meditation with them before they partake. And then I created this bag of stuff that they take into the journey with them. So there's like Kleenex if you're gonna cry. I have stones in there. I have a journal. So all these different components, and I wrote up a little thing for each of them, like the symbol of what it means. And so as they're partaking, they're opening these things out of the bag, and it's kind of like stuff to support them on their journey. An eye mask. They already have the playlist downloaded. Then they do the journey from 3 o'clock in the afternoon until 9 o'clock at night. And then we break their fast with some really beautiful, my sister is our chef. So all of our foods really, she makes like this carrot soup, like very roots and beautiful stuff. And some people will share that night, some choose not to. The next day is all integration. So you kick it off in the mornings for us, and you just, whether it's like with the whole group, and I think you very intuitively like just know what that group needs, or having them share one-on-one about their experiences, and then your feedback is just so amazing and beautiful for them. We also do restorative yoga on that day. So all the women are like, I don't really do yoga. Is it going to be hard? I'm like, no, it's restorative yoga. It's like a very nice pose that you hold, for a period of time. And then there's just a time in that day where I want them to just be with themselves, to journal, to sit out in nature, to be just with what they've just gone through. So that's a big part of like the lunch middle of the day. And then the restorative yoga. And then we do some ecstatic dance. I have all the women send me their favorite song. Pick one song and send me your favorite song. And then we have a dance party. And then after the dance party, which is so fun, because none of them, they're like, I don't want to dance. I'm like, just be free, just dance, have fun. And they'll say that's like some of their favorite parts, you know, is just this time to just like let go and realize you don't have to be so confined in a box. And then we do art therapy. My sister leads some different, like this right here is one of the things I made at one of the retreats. I don't know if you can see it very well, but so she talks about like just letting go and like diving into an art, you know, and just not worrying it. There's no perfect. You're not trying to be anything. And then the following day, we do a little gratitude practice in the morning, and then that's it. So sometimes there's more things, sometimes less things, but in general, I really think about preparing the body, having the experience, and then bringing it all back in and doing that integration piece at the end.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I love that it's you and your sister too. Like anything that brings family together. I've got another client right now and kept talking a while about going and working for somebody else because you just want to be closer to the mushrooms. I'm like, you know, you're here to create your own business, and now he is with his brother, and I'm like, yes, it's so bringing beautiful. Families together.
Yeah, and really, it's like she's just good at it. She loves being in the kitchen. I don't know what takes her 5 hours to make dinner, but she's in there chopping up stuff, and people say, what's the recipe? And she's like, I don't know. There's no recipe, because she's an artist. I mean, she is an artist in real life, but she's an artist in the kitchen as well. And I think when we just really tap into what we're good at and what we like and what our interests are, and we just show up wholeheartedly in those spaces, it's beautiful. I mean, the food, I'll tell you what, the carrot soup after the journey, one gal, she was eating it. She's like, is this not the best soup you have ever had? I'm thinking, I don't know, probably it's a very good soup, but you're also probably hungry. And, you know, but there's just so much love that goes into each of the people that show up. And when you just love what you do and you bring that into the world, like you can't go wrong. You know, you're going to resonate with people at the end of the day. And it's just, sometimes it's hard to figure out, like, what is that thing? What do I love? You know, but once you figure that out, then all things are possible.
Yeah. Oh, all things are possible. There is nothing impossible. And you're good with words too, with your books too, I'm sure. Just, you know, I'm sure you've heard that before.
Well, you know what? The books for me, so it was really, I started because I was trying to figure out this flow thing, but then also I just started with an experience. So I just talked to a gal today, and I could tell she had a lot of stuff in her life, right? There was just all these stories. And I said, have you ever thought about writing them down? And she said, yeah, kind of. But then I wrote an outline, and it just felt really like a lot. And I said, okay, let go of the outline. Just pick a moment in time. Take your shoes off, sit outside, listen to something like elevator music. I listen to water. I like the sounds of just like a river, which is some really mellow thing in the background. I have a little prayer in my heart that's just like, all right, universe, grandma, whoever's out there, like, what do I need to get out that might be helpful for someone else? And then I take a few deep breaths and I just start typing, and I don't hold back. So I don't care about grammar. I don't care about the structure. It's really just, I open a Google Doc so I can go in and change it or add it anytime I work in Google Docs. And I just let myself be free, and I just let it just flow out. And I wrote, actually both those books I wrote in less than a month. And then it took me 2 years to publish because I was so afraid to like put it in the world, and how am I going to do it? And then I ended up breaking it up into 2 books, and I got really critical about it, like in the editing process, but the writing process itself was really just about being free and letting go. And actually the part in the one book that people say they love the best is when I hiked the Grand Canyon rim to rim. That's where I started, because a gal had asked me to write a testimony for this experience that we had done. And instead of 1 page, it turned into like 20. And then I thought, gosh, if I can write 20, what more can I do? And that's where people really they're like, that's the best part. And I thought that was the very first thing I wrote. And it was just the most, I just let it out. Whatever, I just need to explain the experience. I just cried. It was a beautiful process. I think if it's in you, if your intuition is saying, go write, don't worry about the structure. Don't worry about the grammar. Don't worry about what someone's going to think. Don't hold back, because in 100 years, you know, those words are going to be left for someone to read, whether it's someone in your family or someone who finds the book in a used bookstore somewhere down the road. Like, you never know. And it's not your responsibility to, like, I just needed to put it into the world, and the life that it has, whoever it touches, if nobody, right? Or if one person, like, that's it. That was my job. And even just writing it was so therapeutic, just getting it out of being inside of me and putting it somewhere else. It sped up my healing process so much. So if anyone out there feels inclined to write, just do it. Open a Google Doc, set yourself up, you know, so you can just have a moment, breathe, hold some gratitude, and go, okay, universe, okay, creativity, let's go. This is half you, half me. And you just start typing and see what comes out.
Yeah, I love that. Who was it? Cameron something, the Artist's Way girl.
Yeah.
With the morning pages, just getting it out, you know. You have to do that release. It's like an emotional colonic, and you can do it at the gym or something like that. But some people are meant to write. No, I didn't even know that I was a writer myself. I was more artistic. But my mom and her mom, they were both writers. So when I actually started to write, I tapped into a whole other part of me, and that was healing for all the generations before me, you know. And I did it more like article style, and then over time, it just enough on one subject, I just put it together into a book. But it was the same thing that you're saying, where it's just getting it out just for one person. And so I would just publish it, but it wasn't like a big published thing. For me, it was because it was all in small little pieces, you know. It was just all this, like, just a little article, just one thought, just getting that out. So it was over time was a compound effect. But you know,
it's so easy to put out in the world nowadays, right? Like, if you want to put something in, like, you just self-publishing is really a pretty easy process. Although I will say, Ashley, one of the things you talk about at the retreats, and I've heard you say several times, is to write things and then burn it. Yeah. Which I feel like, I have to hold on. But I remember you saying, like, why are you holding on to all those journals? Like, it's okay, let stuff go.
Yeah, it's about giving it a purpose, though, right? Like, you gave your experience a purpose. You gave all those words that you wrote down a purpose. And while I do definitely recommend burning rituals a lot and very often, when we're writing stuff down, it needs a purpose. So if you're just writing it down and then putting it on a shelf, or, you know, leaving it in Google Docs, you know, you don't there is no virtual dust, but, you know, it gets, you know, a whole bunch of other stuff pile on top of it, and it never gets touched again. You have to give it a purpose. So you turn it into something else. And sometimes that's turning it into smoke and ash. Yeah. But, you know, sometimes it's going through it and reading and deciding this needs to go to trash, and this is a great idea that I should build on, and this is going to go into a book.
Yeah, I love that. That was really helpful. Like, it helps me think, like, okay, Eva, let things go. It's okay. You don't have to have all that stuff. You know?
If it's meant for you, it'll come back.
Yeah. That's like stones, right? Like crystals. I was like, I heard someone say, if you lose a crystal one day, that's okay. It was meant to leave you, and it's meant to go find someone else. And so that was like, okay, I feel good about that. It's okay that I don't know where that stone went. You know, hopefully it found a good home somewhere else.
Yeah, absolutely. It's giving it a purpose, and we do it. Part of it's trusting that the universe is always going to provide for us. We hold on, I think, at a scarcity, and sometimes when we're holding on to words or a business idea or anything like that, sometimes we hold on so tight because we're scared that somebody else is going to do it or do it better. But at the same time, it's like, that's going to happen anyway. Like, how many of us get those genius ideas and then we don't act? Action is so important.
Yeah. And I think when something wants to be created, it's just looking for open vessels. I mean, there have been inventions that have happened at the same time in totally random parts of the world, right? It's like, it's out there in the ether. So if you don't do it, someone else will. It's not going, oh, darn, it's never going to come to fruition because Eva didn't take action, right? Like, that's just going to find someone else like to do it. So why not let it be you? And I love what you said about not holding on you. I think about that with these retreats where I've got like that one spot left, or like, who's that person going to be? And it's so easy to go into this mindset of like, oh, I have to hustle, I have to find the person. And instead I'm just like, whoever she is, she will feel called. She will reach out. I just need to take whatever action step feels most in alignment today. So whether that's sending a follow-up email, whether that's creating that ad, whether that's putting a post out there, whether that's following up, whatever it might be, asking the women, can you write a testimonial? Maybe someone needs to hear from someone else, not me, so getting that testimonial to then share out to the list. And then it just happens. Like during that full moon, I had 2 open spots and I'm like, okay, moon, who the people gonna be? Like, I'm ready for this group to come together. And sure enough, 2 women came in like just such synchronistic, beautiful timing. And I just go, okay, I just need to trust the process. I'm showing up how I need to show up. I'm doing work that is meaningful, that feels very much in alignment with my soul. And I just need to not hold so tightly, like just be open collaboration. If you were to do a retreat, it's going to look very different than me. Even if I gave you all my tools, you're still going to execute differently. So I do not feel like competition is necessarily like even a real thing. I'm all about open collaboration and sharing because we show up differently, and that's beautiful.
Yeah, and thank you so much for your amazing advice here. I think there's a lot people are going to take out of today. For now, we'll say bye. I'll link all your info in the description, so anyone who wants to contact Eva, look her up. It's worth it. Bye.
Love you,
now.
Ashley. Thank you, everyone.
Bye for now.
We are people advocating cannabis education here at paceradio.net.
Who has huge buds? You do. If you shop at BMA Hydroponics, attend one of BMA's educational seminars and learn the secrets of growing, harvesting, processing, and consuming quality cannabis and cannabis products. Learn how to make better extracts, edibles, and medicinal creams at prices you can afford. Visit BMA Hydroponics at 404 Maitland Drive, Belleville, or call 613-967-9888.
The only way to go.
Enjoy the buzz of legalization with Campbellford Lifestyle Shop. From lights to plant nutrients, books, consumption accessories, and more, we've got all your basics to grow or consume cannabis. Visit our info center or take a look at our piercing services and body jewelry, now available in-store through Campbellford Lifestyle Shop, 17 Bridge Street West, Campbellford.
PACE Radio is the People Advocating Cannabis Education Radio Network.
At Legacy 420, we believe in being different.
Experience the difference of quality control.
Our labs provide tested formulations for all of our products.
Experience the difference in trust.
Our customers can trust that we are following up-to-date COVID precautions for their safety.
Experience the difference in accessibility.
We're open 7 days a week. Please visit our website, legacy420.com, or contact us for curbside pickup as well as nationwide mail order shipping.
Legacy 420 values overall wellness.
Come and experience the difference of Legacy 420.
Did you know that the Pace Radio Network isn't just a radio network? That's right, because most, but not all of our programming is now done via video and is then podcasted at paceradio.net. So if you want to watch our programming, you'll find us on the Pace Radio Network's Facebook page, plus the show's own page, and you'll find us live on the network's YouTube channel. And don't forget, you can find it all, video and audio, at paceradio.net. You're listening to the Pace Radio Network here at paceradio.net.
Hello and welcome back, you beautiful souls. I'm Ashley, your host, as you know, and I've got a special friend here today. This is, oh, sorry, my phone's going off. That was inappropriate. My special guest today, who does not need any interruptions, but a great introduction, is the Grateful Shaman, James Hin. And, we have been in contact for a long time now, just following each other's journey, mutual referrals because you're doing retreats and integration work, and I'm very much in the same kind of space when it comes to integration and coaching. So, we just had a lot in common, and I wanted to have him on here just to share a bit of what retreats look like, and talk about psychedelics, talk about the frogs and the fungi and the plant medicines that are out there. So yeah, without further ado, I'll pass over to James and he can introduce himself, and then we'll of course dig into some fun stuff along the way.
Sweet, thank you, Ashley. Such an honor to be here. Thank you for asking me to join. Yeah, we've been in contact for a while now, and it's been great, like just the mutual connections and the network that you're building. So I'm really happy to be part of it. So I'm James Hinn. I'm founder of Grateful Shaman Company, and we are doing retreats and one-on-one sessions and lots of other great stuff here in Oregon, in Eugene, Oregon. Going to be building a retreat center and all that good stuff. So really happy to be here to talk about all that.
Yeah, absolutely. It's such a pleasure because you're integrating, being an integration coach and doing these kinds of things. You're actually integrating a lot of different modalities, and what you're doing in itself is very unique. And from my understanding is that in these retreats, you're bringing everything in, but at the same time, when you're working one-on-one with somebody or in the coaching, they can, utilize different modalities depending on who they are. So I think that's really powerful. Yeah. Can you share a little bit about what some of these modalities are that you're working with?
Yeah, so what I learned, we were doing ceremony, just one night ceremonies, and I had been a part of many of those types of things where, whether it's, a few nights ayahuasca retreats or kind of just like really focus on the medicine ceremony. But what I found was that I would go to these experiences and go back to my life, and it would kind of wear off.
Our labs provide tested formulations for all of our products.
Experience the difference in trust.
And I realized that integration was the missing piece. And really, I think integration.
Experience the difference in accessibility.
We're open 7 days a week. Please visit our website, legacy420.com, or contact us for curbside pickup as well as nationwide mail order shipping.
Legacy 420 values overall wellness.
Come and experience the difference of Legacy 420.
Intensely,
Radio Network,
but if you don't carry that work forward,
and
then it can actually have a detrimental effect, is what I found in my experience.
BMA Hydroponics has everything you need to succeed. Visit our hydroponic superstore at 404 Maitland Drive in Belleville, and we'll show you how to grow your own quality cannabis for pennies per gram. We're open Mondays, Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Saturdays from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. and Thursdays and Fridays from 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. Call 613-967-9888. BMA Hydroponics. It's worth the drive.
Sound baths, things like that. We work with different types of medicines.
CP operates medicinal cannabis signing. If you want to grow your own medicinal cannabis and are located anywhere in Canada,
various medicines,
then I'd like to suggest that you give them a call.
On Saturday during the day, we focus on a long workshop on what's your intention for this weekend, this experience,
and grow on
medicine. What questions do you have? What things are coming up for you?
Let's share a place everywhere.
Then creating a plan for how you're going to integrate that back into your life. Because it's great to come for the weekend and everything's, you have no responsibilities.
Enjoy the buzz of legalization with Campbellford Lifestyle Shop. From lights to plant nutrients, books, consumption accessories, and more. We've got all your basics to grow or consume cannabis. Visit our info center or take a look at our piercing services and body jewelry, now available in-store through Campbellford Lifestyle Shop, 17 Bridge Street West, Campbellford.
Is like exponentially better, and it really helps the healing, help you keep the momentum of the healing going for much longer.
Yeah, absolutely. I published a book earlier this year, Rebirth, that talked a bit about the integration process, because I noticed the same thing in my own journey and just working with clients. It was like they'll go to retreats, even like business retreats, people who would do like Tony Robbins or anything. It's the same thing, psychedelics or, any of those other types of events or workshops or boot camps that you go to. Once you get back, it's like, okay, now what? You leave prison, now what? You leave the military, now what? It's like
there's the integration piece is so important, and I really related it back to birth, and that, you know, it's a choice to work with psychedelics. That's a rebirth process, but still the same thing. You know, everybody puts a lot of stock in the experience that lasts 6 hours, with ayahuasca obviously longer, but you know, mushrooms 6 hours. And birth is the same thing. It's, the generalized labor is 6 hours, and there's so much stock put into that. But what about the years of breastfeeding and the years of, you know, raising that child? We got to rebirth ourselves too. And that means re-raising ourselves, re-parenting, relearning. You know, it's so much work. I really love that you've brought this aspect in, that you're one of the people talking about it, because not so many people are. It's becoming more normalized. You know, people are seeing the benefits of it. But, you know, you're doing retreats and really including this. And I think that's pretty rare these days. I'm happy to see that you're really doing that. I want to hear a little bit more about shamanic healing. Like, what's this journey been like for you, and how is it that you're working it into the retreats as well?
Yeah, for sure. And to touch on one thing you said previously, I heard someone who I respect greatly talking about ceremonies and integration, and they said, you know, there's just no money in integration. And that's like a big part of why it's not part, you know, it's great to have, there's Alan's. It's great to have a huge ceremony and make money off of it, but then, like, you know, the integration afterwards, it can really, you know, it's not a lot of people can afford to pay a therapist or integration coach with, you know, or whatever. So I think creating community, right? It's like last night we had an integration group. There's 14 people there, 15 including me. And so having that community support is so important, and that's how we evolved. Almost all of our history, we were in shamanic communities that support each other with birth. You know, like the birth mother would, you know, have the baby and then needed rest. So there would be other women in the community that would breastfeed the baby, right? Because they would help. It would have a whole community. It takes a village, right? And so that's going into the shamanic aspect of it. That's what I found is like maybe the missing piece, is that shamanic community. And so when I was way back in undergrad, I was taking a medical anthropology class, and I was, of course, right when we start, he just wants to keep jumping on. But I was in a medical anthropology class, and I was like militant Richard Dawkins, militant atheist. Like, I didn't want to hear anything about spirituality or religion, right? And this woman walks in. She was a shaman. And before she became a shaman, or before she knew she was a shaman, she was an astrophysicist. And I was like, oh, okay, you know, really cool. I'll listen to you, you know. Yeah. And so she said that, you know, she realized that she needed that training in this life to be able to like buy into the shamanic state of consciousness and the healing modalities, etc. And so that really had a huge impact on me. And I went and saw her, and I had a session with her, and it profoundly affected me. And it wasn't for a few years until I actually started practicing. But once I started practicing the shamanic journey work, I realized, like, you know, that's some of the most powerful experiences that I've had, you know, with no medicine at all. And many cultures around the world use the drum or the rattle to go into that altered state of consciousness. And it was actually like minority were using psychedelics. And so that really piqued my interest too. I was like, how can you get into like altered state of consciousness with just a drum? And I started studying Michael Harner's work, you know, The Way of the Shaman, and then watching, you know, some YouTube videos with him. And the way I've integrated it is every one-on-one session I do, we start with shamanic journey. And so we'll do, you know, we'll open up the 4 directions, and we'll do, you know, the different sage and herbs and things. We'll do a little breath work, and then I'll go into the shamanic state of consciousness and bring back whatever message, whatever intention that we need for the session. And I found that in the sessions that I do that, at first I wasn't doing it because I was like, oh, well, they're just interested in mushrooms. They're not like buying into the shamanic side. But once I started integrating together, it would give us like a really great, you know, intention and like path for the session. to unfold. And it would, we do spirit animal retrievals and soul retrievals and things like that. And so blending the shamanic work with the psilocybin or with whatever medicine we're using, I think is really important, because we can't ignore the energetic side of that. We can't ignore the deep shamanic history of these medicines being used and shamanism as a healing modality.
Yeah, I love that. You remind me, I was just in powwow not too long ago, camping for the weekend, and it was amazing. And the words that were used was like healing and journey and all of these things that are so much used in the psychedelic space too, that at some points I was getting confused, and I'm like, are they working with like the same medicine that we are? But it wasn't. It was all sound and dance and stories, and it's so powerful to know that you can get into those states just that same way. It's like heart opening, and once that heart's open, the soul can start talking to that ego, and they can come to like this mutual understanding and start working as a team to help you do your work that's yours to do. It's both a ceremonial and healing too, but it's also very integrative. Like it helps you integrate your soul and your ego together, which is kind of what we want out of the experience anyway. And I wanted to hear a little bit more about sound healing and sound bathing and this stuff that you were doing here. I mean, you got the sound bowls behind you, so
that's a few of them. Sound. I tell you what, sound caught me off guard. It surprised me. So I, in my ventures moving up to Oregon from California, on my way up, I hit a sound bath in Joshua Tree, right outside Joshua Tree, and I walked in the room and laid down and talked to the facilitator, and he played an hour sound bath, and I was like having, I had done plenty of psychedelics at that point, and other shamanic work and journey work and meditation, and there was something about like the way that the sounds affected my thoughts and what I was experiencing that just struck me in such a profound way. And so I asked him, I was like, hey, how did you learn this? And he's like, oh, I just bought bowls and started playing. And I was like, oh, that's totally my style. Like, I'm doing it, right? So I bought bowls and I shipped them to Oregon even before I got up here. And when I arrived, they were sitting on my porch. And I just set up a meetup and started playing sound baths every week for the community. And that's grown into, I think there's 400 community members there. And we do it every Wednesday. And we've actually had the other sound baths branch off of it. Each sound bath, so we use these crystal bowls, Tibetan bowls. So crystal bowls have not been around as long, but Tibetan bowls have been around for thousands of years or more. And if you think about, again, going back to shamanic community, we regularly gathered in groups around song and dance and sound and rhythm and different things. And look at all the shamanic cultures around the world. There's, rattles and drums. So what I love most about sound bath is I've heard everything from it's helped me sleep, to it healed my pain, to I've had a psychedelic experience during it, and what I love about it most is each one is different. You could have the same people in there the next day, and it's different because it's different people's energies. It's different what they ate that day, how they slept, what's going on in their mind. When you play sound for a group of people laying around, we play off of that energy. And so you'll feel it in the room, oh, you know what, we need to do some lower level chakra bowls, and doing some of the deeper sounds, or sometimes we'll keep it really elevated with the higher consciousness bowls and the third eye tuned or crown chakra bowls. And it's amazing what how that changes the energy of the room as well, and then they kind of play off each other. And so once you add psychedelics into the mix, it's even more profound. But yeah, we've been running sound baths every week, at least one a week since last July. And again, it really caught me off guard how profound it can really be for people.
Yeah, I was exposed to them actually in what's that called, a new age shop, just the small ones, and then I had some gifted to me shortly after, And at first I was just using them, I'm going to put my crystals in there and do it, or I'm going to put it on the body of whoever I'm giving Reiki to and do that and help change that, like the vibration inside, raise it up, these little things. But then in the group setting, it is like, it's so profound. It really does just bring all of the energies together in oneness and unity. It's really powerful stuff. And I'm happy to hear that it's all growing. For anybody that's on the show now, are they able to access that or you? How would they do that?
So they're in person here in Oregon, in Eugene, and I've talked with some people about trying to stream them. But like you just mentioned, the energy of the room is so much a part of it. It's kind of hard to get that via video. But so our Instagram and website, grapeshamancompany.com, or Grape Shaman Company on Instagram is a great way to. That's where I announce all the events and things like that. And our meetup page is right now like our calendar, but working on making that more accessible as well. And I think like same thing with ceremony. So when I do one-on-ones or ceremony, it's all based in sound, whether medicine or not. And I find that each person you add to the group, the healing like grows exponentially as well. Like I was under the impression that like one-on-one work would be more impactful for someone because it's one-on-one, you get that attention the whole time. When I started doing ceremony with 10 people, I realized like each person helps the other person heal, and they don't even know it because it's with the energy and like the love and compassion or whatever they're putting off, and the experience that they're having is resonating with the rest of the room, and it's all like unconscious or even unsaid.
Yeah, I almost see it like as the body's vibrating with this frequency. Like you can't necessarily feel it, but you feel it. You don't see the vibrations, but it almost looks like you could if you wanted to, especially under the influence of some entheogens too, I'm sure. But the way that I visualize it anyway is like the negative energy or anything is like drifting off. It's removed from the body, so that's all that's left is the resonance of the original body, that soul body, and then that's what starts like uniting with the others that are in the room or in the collective. It's really powerful.
Yeah.
I'm curious to know around the medicines, what got you into psychedelics or entheogens? I don't know how you prefer the term, but
yeah, sure, either one. I was practicing shamanism with just like friends or clients here and there on the side kind of thing, and I actually found randomly an ayahuasca ceremony, and I was like, and I've been sober, fully sober for about 10 years at that point or so, and so I was kind of like, I don't know, is this like a drug or what? And so I did some research, and I was like just blown away by some of the results that I was finding people having on this, and I had suffered with depression and anxiety, and so I thought that it might be a solution. And so I found this ayahuasca ceremony, and my whole world opened up. Like I didn't even have a psychedelic experience. Like I just kind of laid there for 2 nights, like just thinking, and in a different way, and I saw my life in a different way, and I was expecting to see colors and like be transported into some other universe, and in 2 nights I just kind of but something completely shifted and changed in me, and I pursued multiple ayahuasca ceremonies after that, and then I was introduced to psilocybin and microdosing. And microdosing is when I started thinking like, all right, I think this is something that I want to offer to my clients. And so I was actually doing a personal like friend experience with one of my friends who I had been practicing shamanism on like over and over again, and to try to like hone my craft. And we did mushrooms together, and it turned into like a one-on-one session where I actually had bought a sound bowl that day, my first ever sound bowl, just this little gold brass Tibetan bowl, and we would talk about seeing it, we would hit it and we could see the ripples like in the air, you know, of the sound. And I just got this message like that this is what you're supposed to do now. And so I just jumped into it. I started offering it to others and exploring it a lot more myself, and exploring the root of, you know, how these medicines were used across cultures and historically. And like, for example, the Seri Indians in Mexico, they've been using toad venom for thousands of years. Like, we've only known about it since the 80s, right? So I've been using it a long time. And then you go over to Africa, in Gabon, you have the Iboga shamans. They've been using that for 10,000 years, you know? And so I was thinking about that modality and then our kind of pharmaceutical industry, and I was like, a no-brainer. This is much better. And so I started pursuing it, and here I am now.
Yeah, thank you so much. You know, I want to keep talking about the medicines, but you just brought up another topic, which is Western medicine. What is your take on that? Because I know, you know, you're very much about the grassroots healing, about like, you know, looking into these old ways of doing things. So what's your take on Western medicine, and, you know, where it's got into, or where it is now?
Yeah, and it's a good topic to talk about, with Oregon passing Measure 109, which is the legalization of medical psilocybin, right, for medical use, and it's being rolled out in the Western medical model. And, you know, my thoughts on the Western medical approach is that we've become so it's so profit driven. So let's look at the priorities of Western medical, right? The first one is profit. It has to be. We have pharmaceutical reps that are coming and, you know, incentivizing doctors to use their medications. We have non-medical professionals managing doctors, you know, on their time spent with patients, right? What's the major complaint about going to the doctor? You feel like you can't even like talk before they're like, all right, we're done. Here's your medicine.
Yep. 8 to 10 minutes.
8 to 10 minutes.
Enough time to write a prescription.
Right. And I remember seeing a psychiatrist as a younger person, and like, it would be like 10 minutes and they're just like, how are you feeling? Is it making you sick? Or are you having side effects? Yeah. Okay, we'll just add this, or we'll do this. Okay, bye. I didn't even know the doctor's name. I don't even think they knew my name if you asked them. And so after doing this work for a while, the traditional, ancient way, I realized, like, yeah, it's a 6-hour session, but man, if I do a one-on-one with you, we're spending 10, 20 hours together. I mean, I'm talking to you on the phone, we're talking about preparation, we're spending time during, we're spending time after. I need to intimately know you to help you. Like, how could I not? And so we've gotten to the point where, here's what I see with psychedelics. So we have ketamine is a good example, psilocybin, etc. I see it all the time. Yeah, I'm doing my ketamine infusions, but you know, I had depression relief for 2 weeks, but now it's gone. Or like, I'm taking these microdoses, it's not helping. Then my first question is always, well, what else are you doing? Because we've gotten so conditioned to think that we just need to take a pill and it's going to make everything better, which I don't even understand why, because that's not even how like SSRIs have been working. Like, they don't work, right? Like they're great for
their side effect list is bigger than what you're probably going into the doctor for.
Right. And then like when we're having side effects, all right, let me just give you another one to deal with that side effect. That's so common. And I can't tell you how many times I talk to people that are on 4 or 5 or 6 different medications, or people that have been using SSRIs for 20 years and they don't work anymore. You know?
I've even heard like 40 years. I'm like, how are you still doing this? You know, It's about time you come in. Thank you. Like, but wow.
Right. And it's like, it's supposed to be a temporary like boost to your serotonin, like to help you get out of a depression, so then you can, you know, continue with your life and not have to rely on them. But we've, you know, the profit model is very favorable, and we incentivize people to do it that way. So yeah, I can talk for hours and hours about the Western model, medical model. And my thoughts on the way we're rolling it out in Oregon is, hey, I look at the advisory board. How many shamans? How many medical? How many psilocybin practitioners? How many people that have actually been working with these medicines for years are on that board? Just I didn't find one. So
They were all booted out by Rockefeller, like back in the day. Anybody of color, any women, just gone. You had to be in a white lab coat and, have that kind of training from the pharmaceutical industry. So
and so the first priority is profit, right?
Yeah.
What's the second priority? They say harm reduction, but really it's preventing getting sued, or liability. And so
and they have separate courts. For anybody who doesn't know, there are separate courts for that medical issues. That way it doesn't get televised.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, right. Like it's just all set up to facilitate the profit. And then psilocybin is gonna, you have a lot of people getting involved that were in cannabis. Venture capitalist firms that want to make billions of dollars off of psilocybin, and that's not good for me. The more you give access to these medicines to people, the better, right? But I think the profit-driven approach is missing so much.
Yes. Come back to the grassroots then, like growing the grass yourself, going in deep into the Amazon, finding the Sappho frog, or, the teachers that are there. Yeah, like the plants and fungi, they are teachers, but there are tons of teachers that have been there and been passing down this knowledge generation after generation too, that, and some of it's like through food, and some of it is through dance, or, there's tons of it available to us. I think with today's culture, so much is forgotten, so much is dismissed, so much is, frowned upon or demonized. But like, I don't know if you saw, but Fantastic Fungi is under the occult section on Netflix. Okay, it's not under food, it's not under health, it's under occult.
And so it's like telling our origin story, and it's under occult. Okay. Well, I just spent a few weeks with the Seri Indians in the Sonoran Desert, which was amazing. There's a lot of great people working with them and trying to help them down there, and they've been, like I said, working with the Bufalo virus toad medicine for a long time. What I noticed with them was, especially the elders and even the kids, they have no problem just sitting still and talking and socializing and like living life. And so when I tell people like, hey, 15 minutes meditation a day, and they're like, oh, I can't do that. Like almost all of our human history, we could sit for hours and hours and hours without even noticing. And so now we've gotten to a point where we're so distracted that we can't even sit still for a few minutes. It's really no wonder that we have the rates of depression and anxiety that we do, right? Yeah.
Not to mention like the ADD and stuff that you see on Instagram, where everything's so fast. Like,
right.
But, yeah. So, James, we got about 5 minutes or so left on the clock here, and then, I want to know, I guess, from you, other than, how everybody can contact you, but, if I was to give you a dandelion right now to make a wish, what would that wish be? What would you want, in this field or for humanity?
I think it would be, sorry, puppy.
It's okay.
I think it would be having people educated about shamanism, or understand or connected back to shamanism, because we all came from shamans. Like all came from shamanic communities. And if you look at, I forget his name, but there's a great book called The Depression Cure. And he looked at indigenous tribes and why there's such low rates of depression and cancer and all that stuff. And it was because of the factors of shamanic community. And so I saw recently a podcast say that they have a no shaman policy because they don't believe that people that call themselves shamans or that are shamans are like legit, right? You can't call yourself, if you call yourself a shaman, you're not, blah, 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 all that stuff. And this idea that shamans are only now born in indigenous tribes, and if you're born in New Jersey, you can't be a shaman. But I have this theory that like people with mental illness, schizophrenics, bipolar, etc., are shamans, and they just don't know it. They weren't born in a culture that can facilitate their gifts or their calling or their purpose. And so I wish that everybody would actually learn and try to understand about shamanism and the fact that it's the oldest belief system that we've had, and it's been the reason we've survived this long, and we've gotten so far away of it for such a short time. Looking at the roots of all religions come from shamanism as well, etc. So yeah, it would definitely be that, like, understanding of what shamanism is, and that it's not black magic, it's not a cult, it's not like dangerous. It's who we are, and that's based on community, and then meditation, and really just the spiritual nature of illness.
Yeah, thank you for that. Terence McKenna, for anybody who's listening to this, if you just Google Terence McKenna and schizophrenia, shamanism and schizophrenia, I think if you look up those two things together with his name, there are speeches among speeches around this topic that were really influential, for people with mental illness in my own life, to just see like there's been a lot of oppression here, and it's good to do this research. That's a good place to start for anybody, and then go on and go down your own rabbit holes afterwards.
Yeah. And Michael Harner, The Way of the Shaman, is like...
Yeah, you mentioned that book too.
Yeah, that's a really good place to start too.
And I'm going to link all of your information below, as well as your bio, for anybody in the description. But, maybe somebody's driving right now and they don't have the time to look. So again, if you just want to share your website or anything else.
Oh, cool. Thank you. Yeah. So Grateful Shaman Company is Instagram. You can find it on Instagram or Google it. You'll find our website, gratefulshamancompany.com. Based in Eugene here, doing retreat weekends, ceremonies every month. Trying to increase the frequency of that, trying to attract people from out of the state to come in, and then that's how you can find us. And then if you are in Eugene or you make your way to Eugene, there's all kinds of awesome community events going on here, sound baths, etc. And so if you're interested, we could. I also do like virtual sessions with Shamanic Journey and integration support, etc. And so Grateful Shaman Company. Google that, and then you'll find us.
Yeah. Thank you so much, James. It's such a pleasure. We'll have to do this again, because I'm sure, like, in all of these topics, we could talk a lot longer. So I really appreciate this and your time today, and seeing your puppy too. Like, mine's passed out because we did a walk, but normally she's doing the same thing. So I totally get it.
I tried a lot outside, somehow we got it in. So.
Yeah, it was so nice to see her though. Like, the energy is amazing. So thank you, both of you, for your time today. We'll talk soon.
Okay,
Bye.
Talk to you soon. Bye.
You're listening to the Pace Radio Network, here at paceradio.net.
The views expressed by the individuals during this broadcast are their own opinions, and they may not be the same as those of their group or other organizations they may be involved with.
BMA Hydroponics has everything you need to succeed. Visit our hydroponics superstore at 404 Maitland Drive in Belleville, and we'll show you how to grow your own quality cannabis for pennies per gram. We're open Mondays, Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Saturdays from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. and Thursdays and Fridays from 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. Call 613-967-9888. BMA Hydroponics. It's worth the drive.
The only way to go.
At Legacy 420, we believe in being different.
Experience the difference of quality control.
Our labs provide tested formulations for all of our products.
Experience the difference in trust.
Our customers can trust that we are following up-to-date COVID precautions for their safety.
Experience the difference in accessibility.
We're open 7 days a week. Please visit our website, legacy420.com, or contact us for curbside pickup as well as nationwide mail order shipping.
Legacy 420 values overall wellness.
Come and experience the difference of Legacy 420.
Did you know that the Pace Radio Network isn't just a radio network? That's right, because most, but not all of our programming is now done via video and is then podcasted at paceradio.net. So if you want to watch, yes, watch our programming, you'll find us on the Pace Radio Network's Facebook page, plus the show's own page, and you'll find us live on the network's YouTube channel. And don't forget, you can find it all, video and audio, at paceradio.net.
Enjoy the buzz of legalization with Campbellford Lifestyle Shop. From lights to plant nutrients, books, consumption accessories, and more, we've got all your basics to grow or consume cannabis. Visit our info center or take a look at our piercing services and body jewelry, now available in-store through Campbellford Lifestyle Shop, 17 Bridge Street West, Campbellford.
You're listening to the Pace Radio Network, here at paceradio.net.